welcome in the evening session of Vedic mathematics. In this step, Source Sutra, that is Ganita Sutra 1, focus is primarily from the point of view of the first group of VM textbook group. Vedic mathematics textbooks are being written or being attempted in two categories. One is a sutra wise, which will take us to as many as 29 volumes, and the second is topic wise, and its range will depend upon the number of the topics which require specific attention from the point of view of the modern mathematics as well as from the point of view of graded schooling and higher education and research topics point of view. Today the focus is of this category, the first category of VM textbooks, which is to be written as sutra wise. So first sutra is designated as the Source Sutra. Therefore this volume is to be titled as Source Sutra. Though we are giving the designation as a Source Sutra, but in fact the whole attention here is going to be upon Ganita Sutra 1. Here in this volume there are to be twofold focus, twofold attention. First, as that it is going to be the Source Sutra, so it is to cover the entire Vedic mathematics domain of the entire range of sutras as well as upsutras. The second focus here itself in this context of Sutra 1 will be that mathematical domain of Sutra 1 as well is to be fully explored. Both these aspects in fact are distinct aspects, however we have to take them simultaneously. When we are attending to Ganita Sutra 1 as a Source Sutra, then here our first attention is to be upon the general organization features of this text. When we look at that this text is availing 16 letters, and when we know that there are 16 sutras, and also when we know that values range 1 to 16 leads us to 29 factors, which would mean 16 plus 13 as well. So it will help us appreciate that the value 16 is inherently imbibing within its domain the 13 upsutras as well as 13 additional values available in the form of the factors of numbers 1 to 16. The other feature which prominently comes to notice is that here the first letter is the sixth vowel, so it is taking us to value 6. This value 6 becomes the source value. Actually, in terms of this value 6, that we are going to have the initial lead for entering into the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 1 as well as into its prime role as the Source Sutra. Now about value 6, the first thing which we know is that it is the first perfect number. Then also we know it is a unique perfect number, as much as that it is the only perfect number in respect of which the sum and multiplication of its proper divisors is equal. We know that second perfect number is 28. However, here in case addition and multiplication vary, there is a wide difference between this pair of values, and other perfect numbers give a still wider gaps between the summation and multiplication values. Value 6 as a perfect number, as a first perfect number, and as a unique perfect number is a situation for us which is helping us to have deeper insight into the organization of this composition as well as to enter into the mathematical domain. Now as there are, so the second feature which we are prominently taking is that the simple rendering for this text is one more than before, which means a sequential organization, means a step-by-step organization. So it is a sequential organization, which would mean that each letter is having a sequential underneath format of its placement. So these placements of these will, as per this sequence of placements, will make these letters as availing first chair to the 16th chair. The last chair will be of the last letter or the first vowel, and the first chair is going to be availed by the sixth vowel, a value 6. So the underlying format, the placement, the sequential placement as first letter, second letter, third letter, fourth letter, fifth, sixth letters is inherently available to us. So this inherent sequential placements of the letters of this text gives us a hint that we can associate them, the first letter means first letter can be associated with Sutra 1 itself. The second letter that way will get associated with second Sutra, and sequentially reaching the 16th letter will get associated with the 16th Sutra. It is this hint, it is this insight, it is this comprehension, it is this organization feature which is to be availed by us to have an association of the letters with the sutras. So first letter as such is to be taken as an index of the values, some sort of the repository, a reservoir, a source available here in this letter, which is to help us have insight, sequential insight into the binding thread. Sutra, we know, is a thread. It is a string. It is that which binds them, which runs through them and makes it a mala, a garland. So the garland, ekadhiken purven, as a garland of its 16 letters is having a thread in it. It is that thread which is to have some sort of an association with the first letter. Therefore, we designated that this first letter as a value 6 because of its placement in the Devanagari alphabet. It is here that we are having a placement of this letter. So the first insight about this organization has been the underneath sequential format of 1, 2, 3, 4 means the chairs, the musical chairs. Chair 1 to chair 16 are available. These 16 chairs are occupied by these 16 letters. The second association is that these letters are in fact having their placements in a Devanagari alphabet format. It is this placement within this format that way can be taken is a value, a feature which is being carried by the letter while it is being availed for this composition. Therefore, the letter A, though is occupying chair 1, but it being the sixth vowel carries along with the value 6. So, Sutra 1, when is to be viewed, when is to be glimpsed, when is to be approached, as if the binding thread, the sutra, the structural key for unlocking this mala, this garland, to have this stitching thread to be out or to have reorganization as it is, then we call it that here is a value, and this value we are going to avail it as a structural key. We have to explain it why we are taking 6 as placement value of the first letter as a structural key for the first sutra. Likewise, the second letter, the letter occupying the second chair is Ka, and Ka is having, we have associated here value 4. However, when we will reach here in this alphabet, it has an association of a value 1. Why we are taking value 4 instead of value 1, while the value 1 is the placement value of this letter in this alphabet format. Therefore, it is this feature for which we have to have a halt, and we have to explain to ourselves for our comprehension and for conveying that we are taking it value 4 as the Vedic systems take Om, sole syllable, as Ek Akshar Brahm. The formulation Ek has an association with the Om, and we know the Om is of 4 components, and the first 3 letters and then the integrated form of the 3 letters, like first 3 quarters of Brahm and the 4th quarter of the Brahm. So this inherent unfolding feature of Om, 1 as 4, is the feature which is coming into play here, as the Vedic systems enlighten us that Ka is Ka Brahma. Brahma is a 4-head Lord. Brahma is Creator, the Supreme. We are going to enter the created, the structured domain of Vedic systems, Vedic values, and here it is the 4th space, here it is Brahma, here it is the 4-head Lord who is playing his role as a Creator, the Supreme. It is because of it that we are taking value 4 for the letter Ka, the second chair Ka, and then we will say that this second letter with a letter Ka as a reservoir of the values, as a structural key, will lead us to value 4 as Ka Brahma. Now, transition from 6 to 4 is a transition from 6 space as a domain to 4 space as dimension. It is here where we have to have a halt, we have to have a pause, we have to give a proper focus, we have to be specific as to how the reach from here to here, firstly from the point of view of unfolding the mathematical domain of Ekadike and Purve, and further from the point of view of a reach from Ganita Sutra 1 to Ganita Sutra 2. So second letter as mathematical domain of the first sutra, and the second letter as a structural key of the mathematical domain of a second sutra is one aspect, and reach from first letter to second letter within the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 1 is another aspect altogether. Therefore, sequentially, we will be having 16 steps, 16 letters, 16 flowers, which are making a garland. So, the 16 occupants of chair 1 to 16 will be making a organization, and it is this organization as their sequential placement amongst themselves will be making the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 1. However, individually these letters will be leading to the structural keys of Ganita Sutras 1 to 16. It is this feature which is to be focused, which is to be comprehended, and which is to be imbibed well. Now, it will be that when we will be having a placement values of all these 16 letters being tabulated here under the designation TCV as a Divya Ank Vyavastha, a transcendental code values as these placement values are designated and called and being availed. So this array of 16 values 6, 4, 2, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 5, 6, 3, 7, 6, 7, 1 are the values which on their chase will help us appreciate that the first formulation Ekadike of 9 letters values will give us a plotting of the parabolic shape. It is value 6 which leads to value 4, then 2, we come at 7, then at 2, 4, 6, 8 and 1. We have to chase what this string, the binding string of the values carried by these letters along with them. It is that from 6 space domain we are reaching 4 space as its dimension, and then we are reaching at 2 space as dimension of a dimension. We know that this setup of values 6, 4 and 2 will lead us to the formulation Rishi, which would mean seer, one who sees, one who can peep through, who can enter a domain, we can see the center of the domain itself. And we know that we have going from 6 space for glimpsing its domain. So here it is the 7th space which will be playing the role of the origin of 6 space. And when we will see that 6 is the number, Surya Ank is the number of a Surya, then we will appreciate that this mathematics, when it helps us appreciate Ekadike and Purve, and Purv is the formulation whose meaning is east as well. So we have to go towards east, but one step ahead up till where the bound is. That means from 6 we have to reach 7, which would mean from Surya, sun, we have to reach Dhruv, a pole star. Like that, the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 1 is going to be the domain which will take us from sun to a pole star in the role of the origin of our solar universe. This way, we see that this mathematics is sequentially unfolding itself, and this unfoldment process is very delicate, as it is to ultimately cover the entire existence phenomenon of entire solar universe. As such, my caution is that while we are attempting the outline for Ganita Sutra 1 as a Source Sutra, then we have to approach it absolutely differently, taking it to be that each letter is having its distinct role to play, and that distinct role is going to be in the form of the structural keys. And while we are taking up Ekadhiken Purvain as the mathematical domain of Ganita Sutra 1, then we have to see how these have been structured as a garland amongst themselves, as a single garland, and otherwise how this garland has 16 mutations, how the 16 different types of garlands stand formed, how these 16 types of garlands emerge from within this setup. That is going to be an absolutely a different aspect. Therefore, both features shall be dealt with distinctively, and it is this caution with which I open the internal discussion, so that in the next session we can analyze it further to see how far we are successful to have a leap forward in this exercise. Thank you very much.